Hello, hello, hello. I think we are live. Yes, it's going live now. Okay, just a few checks. Just seeing what's going on there. A few people beginning to attend now. Okay. So hi, everyone. Before we start, if people as they're checking in, if you could just let me know that you can hear and see me, to make sure that the sounds live, microphone, and you can see me. Maybe give me a wave. If you can, that would be good. Yep. Just put something in the chat if you, okay, yeah. Good, yeah. Just drop something in the chat that you can see me, that would be great. Okay, a few, yeah, a few. Okay, we'll start. I can see, okay, the attendees are rolling up, it's coming. Okay, today we're talking in the Olympic Sprint Business Coaching webinar. We'll be looking at the subject, I call it 0 to 100K. 0 to your first $100,000, pounds, or euros. Again, if you as you're attending and checking in, just let me know that you can see me, hear me, and I'll tell you what's great if you just tell me okay, a couple of people with the sound. Let me just check that microphone. Yeah, that's all good. I must admit that the connection's been a little bit dodgy the last few days since we've had the snow up here in Norfolk where I am, unfortunately. So not sure why that's affected our internet services, but that's unfortunately what happens here in the UK. But I'll continue, and hopefully the recording at least will be sound. So if it does break up a bit, at least you'll get the recording afterwards. So please stay tuned anyway. Okay, again, let me know where you're coming in from. I see a couple of people there. Yeah, I see a few here in Norwich where I am, a couple of London, the Midlands. Yeah. Birmingham, I see. I've even got Jamaica. Okay, and is that Egypt? Okay, that's a new one for us. Great. Well, greetings to everyone. Quite an international group today. So again, we're looking at 0 to 100,000 K. And why I say 100,000, and I'm talking here. Usually I'm talking about sort of British pounds, euros, American dollars. So not talking Jamaican dollars or Egyptian pounds, right? We're talking about 100,000. And why 100,000? Why I choose that as a figure is for three reasons. One, that once you turn over £100,000, as in your sales figure of £100,000, usually that might mean a profit of somewhere 20,000 to 80,000, depending what you do and how you do it. And usually with that kind of money, 20,000 to 80,000 to play with, that's enough to replace a salary for most people. So you have a choice to make. You can then choose whether you want to, go full time into your business or something else. So that's why one figure. Secondly, it's an amount that it becomes something attractive for people to sell. When you turn over your sales to 100,000 in a strong currency, I say, you'll find out that it becomes something that you can sell if you want to. It becomes something that now attractive to people to sell. Something that's less than that, no one's really interested in buying it as a business. So you have a chance now to make it into something, which is a strategy, I know, for many of you to get it up to speed and then sell it. So that's one way. And thirdly, it's that with that sort of money coming in, you can now, if you like, pull someone else in to manage the business for you. And I was listening to a podcast yesterday, an interview with Richard Branson, and that's what they've always done. Well, his model has been that you set up the business and then you find someone else to run it, and then you go off and do what you want to do. He goes off and flies balloons and tries to go to space and so on. So that's why 100,000. 100,000 is what allows you to do this. So and a lot of this, I will talk a lot about the Olympic Sprint Business Coaching full subscription module that we have, because a lot of the stuff I'm saying, you get all of the online courses and all of the personal consultations come with that subscription. So I'll talk about that a lot, and I'll give you the links to that as we go through. In fact, I'll try and stick a link in there early on, just so that you've got a link. Okay, I'll come back to that. So what I'm going to do is run a few slides that come from the startup program. So I'm going to, obviously it's a short webinar, we can't go through things in detail, but what I hope to do is point you in what I think are the very most important things that will take you from that 0 to 100,000. And also, it's something that I think it can be done for some people. You'll be able to do it working part-time. I say a minimum of 5 hours a week. If you give us 5 hours a week, if you give yourselves 5 hours a week, because it's your business and it's your business idea. We're not bringing you into sort of network marketing or our own product. It's your product, your great idea that we're going to help you take to that 100,000. Okay. So I'm going to try and find a couple of slides that will demonstrate this, and I'll talk through the slides, and then we'll yeah, okay. I'll try and get just some questions coming in. Please feel free to put any questions in, and I'll try and address some of them towards, if I don't in the presentation, we'll do it at the end of the presentation. But hopefully most of them will be covered within the presentation. Okay, someone's coming late and has asked what I just said about why 100,000, and I said it's 100,000 usually means a profit of 20 to 80,000. It means it now becomes a little attractive to some people who are looking for an investment or looking to buy a business they can run for themselves. It becomes sellable, and also at that level you can then bring in someone to manage the business for you, and you take on another role if you like. So that's why we say 100,000. And as I said, it comes from the module. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, so these are the 6, if you like, I call it the modules of startup. Of our startup module, these are the 6 pillars, if you like. And so what I'm going to do is briefly talk through them. And one I always talk about is understand why businesses fail. You have to understand why businesses do not succeed. What are the main reasons? We'll talk about that briefly. The business model, which for me is ultra important. We'll talk about the key players, what I call the sales cycle, marketing strategies, and finance and administration. So what I'm going to do is talk about those 6 points in this presentation. And again, I said I can't dwell on them too long. I have to be quite brief because it's quite a lot. Understanding why businesses fail is obviously key. Sorry, just copying something there. And what I'm going to do here is give you a link to the book I've done of the same name, Why Businesses Fail. At Smashwords' ebook, that's yours. It's free. It's normally $9, and that's a link for you. You've got that already. Save that link, save the code, and you can get that free after the webinar. Have a read of it. Okay, so that's my early gift to you already. Okay, so you're already up already. Okay, why business fail? Just rush through cash flow. We know people know that you don't have enough cash to see you through the sort of lean times and the early startup times. Money comes in slowly. And don't mention it. Money comes in slowly, and you run out of cash. That's a big thing. Very common. People run out of cash. Great idea, but if they had enough cash flow, they would make money at the end of the year. Out of touch with market and customer trends. Straightforward. Reliance on one supplier is a big one. You get a good deal, a good supplier, and you make a business based around that. But if something changes, the whole thing collapses. The same thing with relying on one major customer. It may be that, it could be family, friends. You have a contact in this customer and they really, they are a great customer right at the beginning, but you cannot rely upon them. Which then leads into what I call ineffective marketing and lead generation. Lead generation is that thing of creating leads. We had a webinar on this a few weeks ago, and it's that thing of constantly creating leads. leading to new possible clients and customers and the work that it takes to do that. And if you're not generating leads, your business is dying. So that's a big thing, and it's probably one of our most popular courses, the online course, the lead generation course. I think it's called 40 Top Lead Generation Techniques. Indecisive leadership, that's straightforward. You've got to be clear what your goals are and what you want to do. Quality of staff and associates, and we'll cover that actually. We'll talk about the quality of staff. Lack of stamina, and that's because sometimes you'll be surprised how often I have to tell people they're not working hard enough. You don't go into business for yourself to work less than you were working in your 9-to-5 job. You end up at the beginning, especially, you have to put the hours in. You have to work hard, and then the rewards will allow you to work less later on. So some people just do not work hard enough. I'll be honest, that's straightforward. And I call lack of a suitable corporate profile. And this is, I won't go into this, but it's, you have to have these days you have to have your telephone numbers and your email addresses and your websites and, and perhaps social media and, a physical space that someone can come to if to deliver things, to pick up things, to meet people, all these things. Things are flexible these days, but you still have to have those things in place. So that's what I call the corporate profile. All right. So anyway, that's all in the book. I spent too long there already. It's all in the book. Take a read of the book, and and there's a lot in the book actually. This now is the major part of our startup module, the Olympic Sprint Business Coaching Program. It's what I call the business model generation template. This is where we spend a lot of time with people with a great idea, at the startup stage, where many of you will be. And I know some of you would have, I've used it with you before. I'll briefly talk you through how we use it. What we do, it's again, it's a downloadable thing. I mean, you can copy this. It's in all the programs we do. You can download this template. And what we suggest you do is that you blow it up, a big A3 or something, quite a big size, stick it on your wall, and then it's about brainstorming each of the 9 sections of it. I'll briefly talk you through them. The product availability. It's how available is the product that you want to buy or sell or service, that you want to supply. Where is it available at the moment? Who are your suppliers? And then the costs and margins. What's it going to cost you to get the product? And what are you going to add to that? If you work that out, how much are you going to make on the product? And these are all things we brainstorm, and you have to get your whole team, if you've got a business coach, a consultant, you've got a team. This is about brainstorming, and how we do this. I like to use Post-it notes. I used to do it really big and write on it, but actually it's better. One of my colleagues suggested we use Post-it notes. You actually write a Post-it note, stick it on the answer on, and then when you go back to this template, you stick another Post-it note on top of what you've already done. So you see how things have changed. And you do this again and again and again until you've exhausted it. So you've talked about the product availability to suppliers, because you want alternative suppliers. We just talked about that. Talk about your costs and make sure you can keep those costs the same, whether it's whoever's supplying you. Transaction locations is where do you do the transactions? Where do your clients do the transaction? Do they do it in front of a computer? Do they come into a shop? Where do they actually do the transaction? Think about that. Where is it? Where are the locations of the transactions? And interaction points. I know I'm going through quite fast, I said, but I have to today because it's there's a lot to get through. But interaction points, where do you get to influence the customer? Again, if, for example, many websites now, they'll have a box, like a chat box that comes up. It says, hey, can I help you? Which is great. So that's an interaction, which wasn't there before. If you're in a shop, then obviously when someone walks through the door and you say, hello, how are you? Can I help you? That's an interaction. So it's where do you get to influence the customer or potential customer in what they buy and how they buy. So it's working out those things. Receipts and handling of funds. That's how do you, well, exactly that. You have to know, hold on, if someone does purchase something, how does the money get to you? Often if you're selling something online, for example, you may use PayPal, you may use a third-party website and all these things, and everybody's taking their cut before it gets to you. You sold it for £100 or dollars, and this one's taking 10, this one's taking 10, it gets you. So it's not just how much do you get and the cost of that, but how does it get to you? If it's a physical space and people, paying cash over the counter, how does that money get from them paying cash to your staff into your bank account or wherever you keep your money? Right? So it's how does that work? And of course, the method of purchase is just how do people actually buy? Have you thought about it? How will they actually buy when they've actually shown an interest in your product or service? How do they actually go about buying it? Have you thought about that? Are you clear about that? And I'll come to that. Okay, distribution channels. Then it's the other way around. How do you get your product or service to your client? You're selling, something like pens online, and they order. Now you've got to get it to them. Have you thought about that? Not just, how will you get it to them? What will it cost? What is the time frame? Okay. These are things you have to think about and be clear about. And then finally, we've got your customer description. And I really like to take this to a really deep level. You obviously cannot be general. If you're thinking about customers, who are the actual customers? And what I like to do is give them a name. I like to profile and say, okay, the likely customer is 25 to 35 years old. They do this, they work in this kind of work or that kind of work. They do this, how much do they earn? And really profile your customers. Where do they go for entertainment? What do they read? What do they listen to? And don't be shy. Sometimes it's hard because you have to really be, as you drill down, you're like, wow, does that customer exist? But really, you have to be clear that that customer you're thinking of does exist, and really, I give them a name. I actually make up some names for these customers, and give them a name, and think about that person. So when you're targeting that person. And there's obviously be more than one. You can have more than one profile, but that when you're doing something, any kind of advertising or marketing you do you should be clear that it will hit that person. It was something they will respond to. That's what you want to know. So this is why I say we spend a lot of time on the business model template. So it's going through these questions. And again, if you have any kind of business coach or mentor, this is the time one of the time at least to use them. Really brainstorm this till you've exhausted it. It won't happen in a day. You won't happen in one day in one sitting. You won't just go through and it's not a quick tick exercise. Go through it again and again and again and again, and it will throw up questions. All right? Then it means you have a sound business model. And for myself, I think the business model is much more important than any kind of business plan. I might mention that later, but business plans are usually done for other people. It's for people who are promising you some kind of money or investment. So they're not really that useful, right? But the business model template forces you to answer the questions. So this is ultra important. So if you like, you can just make a note of these points and start doing that exercise now, okay? And this is in order to give you the best chance of success as we go forward. Now, this is about team building when I say your key players. And there are 3 parts to this. Yeah, I should know notes actually. The skills analysis is straightforward. The skills analysis is straightforward. It's finding out you have yourself, and you probably have a team that are part of it, maybe partners, maybe investors, maybe family, but people who've committed to help you. That's your initial team before you've employed anybody, and that's where the skills analysis comes in. You're looking at the skills within your group to deliver what you need to deliver. You've looked at your business model template, so that will show you some of the things that you need to do and the skills necessary. So now you're looking, what do you have amongst you? What skills do you have amongst you? And obviously, what skills do you not have? That's the thing. So obviously, there are technical skills to do whatever you're delivering or manufacturing or something like that. That's clear. And then there are sort of administration and management skills, financial skills, customer skills. There are all these types of skills that are general to every business, some more so than others. So we have in the subscription package, obviously we have a generic skills analysis model, but obviously for your actual business, you'll have to be clear about the actual technical skills you need and whether you have them or not, because obviously if you don't have them, you have to buy them in. You have to factor that into any business model. Then the working styles analysis is something I developed. I use a lot in the live workshops, and I'm going to cross-reference that in a minute. The working styles analysis, it's really about analyzing what kind of person you are and how you work, because people work differently. And you say there are about 4 styles, working styles. And you do this short sort of questionnaire, it's a kind of self-analysis, and it brings up your working styles. And other people are taking this a lot further, whether it's to do with, the parts of the brain and hot, wet, cold, dry. There are things that relate to, they cross over. So you find there are sort of generally 4 types of people, and this crosses over in the working styles analysis. So we do an analysis which I develop, and when I use the analysis in the live workshops, it's very interesting because you show the positive side of each style, and you show the negative side. That if things are not going well, and I've had people get upset with me when they've read out the negative side. They say, "Oh, that's not like me," and then I said, "Look, it's not an exact science," Then by the end of the day, they come around and say, "Do you know what? We don't like to be criticized and shown what could be our bad faults." But I use the working styles a lot in my workshops, and it really is useful because it's clear that you can see. You have some people who are sort of more theorists and thinkers, and some who are kind of more activists and get up and go, and there's some who are straight and always, will it make money? You need all those kinds of people in your business. So it's good to see what kind of person you are, so you know what kind of people you need to attract to your business as well, to be part of your business. And yes, sorry, just a couple of questions that get to do with that. We do have a questionnaire. I'll see if I can send you. It's in the subscription, and I may have it. Maybe I'm not sure if it's in the book I sent you, but it is available online, and I will send out some links as well after this. So I'll make a note of that question. The sales cycle. Many people think they're great salespeople when actually they're not. If I explain that, the sales cycle is relevant for every type of selling. If I explain it, and then that will, I'll explain what I mean. The sales cycle. Your responsibility with your product or service is to develop the case for expenditure. And what I mean by the case for expenditure is that you have to find out why people. You have to state why people would buy your product. Why would they buy your product or service? It's up to you to tell people why would they do that. And you know all the reasons why people buy it, and some of them will be general. Why would people buy a cup of coffee? For all the reasons that people buy coffee, you have to know those things and state them, and then you have to put the unique ones. Why would they buy your cup of coffee? And one of the unique things that is from you, those things. So you have to put the general and the specific reasons why people would buy your product or service. Be clear about it, right? Again, it's another brainstorming thing. All the things why people should buy your product or service, right? You have to be clear. And that's developing your case for support, okay? Then that's backed up by what we call research and segmentation. Okay, these are the reasons why people would buy it, but who are the people who would buy it? This goes back to we talked about your, defining your customer or your customer avatar. You've got to know who would buy it, and again, where they are and what stimulates them and what will make them buy. All these things are research and segmentation. and how do you target them? Where do you target them? All these things. That's the research and segmentation. So the case for expenditure backed up by this research and segmentation about your product in general, about the people you want to sell to, and about the market in general, what's going on in the marketplace. So this is your case for support backed up by your research and segmentation, and then your implementation. This is where the salesperson comes in. So many people who've had success in selling, it's because someone else has done the first two parts of the cycle for them. Someone else has worked out why they should, why people should buy, all the good points and the selling points. Someone else has said, look, these are the people who will buy. And not only that, this is what you should target them with. These people, you should talk about the price. These people, you should talk about the quality. These people, you should send emails to. These people, you should telephone. These people, you should go and knock on their door. So that's the research and segmentation. And then it's the implementation. These are where the salespeople come in, the traditional salespeople. You've given them all of that information. You give them all of that information so they know how to contact these people. And this all ties in with what we call lead generation. They know how to contact these people and what to say or what to present. Right? So really you're making it like a no-brainer for selling your thing. It's like selling my product for dummies or selling my product 101. You've done all that work, the case for expenditure, the research and segmentation. So now it's easy for you to get people to sell your product. Obviously, you can do things on commission or however you do it, but it means it's a much easier sell. Rather than sometimes we take people who we think are great salespeople and we promise them a hefty commission, but when they're left to their own devices, they don't necessarily do as well as you think they would. And then the cycle is finished by what I call monitoring and evaluation, because you have to find out exactly how much success you had with those salespeople. What was the sort of closing rate, the percentage of the people you targeted? How many of them brought? What did they respond to? All the facts and everything that happened and didn't happen, and you've got to feed that into the cycle again. Now it's knowledge. You know that wow. We thought that 15 to 25-year-olds would buy it, but no, actually it was 35 to 50-year-olds who bought it. So these things you have to look at and be as specific as you can. So this is the sales cycle, and again, your responsibility is definitely the first, the case for expenditure and the research and segmentation. So again, this is now again giving you as much chance for success and reaching to that 100,000 as quickly as possible. That's what this is about. Okay, so you have to understand the selling, and everything I talk about, you have to understand it. Even if you're not the one doing everything, it's important that you understand how your business operates and how it should operate, so that when you employ professionals, you direct them. We've seen too many times when people employ accountants and so on, and the accountant tells them nonsense and they don't know what the accountant's talking about. No, you have to know. There are things you have to know. So moving on. Sorry if I sound a bit hard there. Okay. There's a couple of questions coming for the sales cycle. Again, if I'm just talking about the sales cycle, if I talk about let's say yourselves, if you're coming for so let me come back to that. Sorry, I moved slightly. I'll come back. I do have some examples written down. I'll come back to that with the examples of the sales cycle. I have to just think of the best one to put forward. But I think it's just so sort of common. It's a bit difficult because it's so sort of common. I think if you are let's say you are, okay, someone said, sorry. Yeah, if you're making bicycles, for example, you have to find out, let's say bicycles, let's go back a bit. If you make bicycles, you have to find out who is buying bicycles, why people would buy bicycles, which is, of course, just keep fit, to get from A to B, to keep fit. Those are two reasons to buy bicycles, to give as a gift. These are the things you're going to talk about, all those things, why people would buy bicycles. And then in the research and segmentation, you're going to say, well, who exactly would buy them for gifts? So obviously their parents might buy them for their children. and who exactly would ride to work. People who live within a certain distance of where they work. Maybe people who go to environmentally conscious, those people. So you find out all those kind of people where they are. So that's your research and segmentation. And then this is where lead generation comes in. You have to now find out where do you find those people. So do you target them with the health shop? Do you go to the workplaces to target them? Do you look on Facebook and see when there's a birthday coming up, if you can see that much? So that's a way of, if you like, the research and segmentation. And then you pass all that to your sales team, which may be yourself, and the contacts you've got. And then they have to make the approaches, whether the approach is, telephone, email, or is it having a market stall selling bicycles or having a shop, but then you have to, that's where you target people, but you know what buttons to press. And then you can then judge, you look how many people have come in, how many people you've spoken to, how many people have brought. That's the monitoring and evaluation. So I hope that explains it a little. And again, any other questions, feel free to keep putting the questions in. And I said, I'll get back to you. And I'll get back to you with the answers if I can't do it right here. So we've talked about, if I can remember correctly, the why business fail, the business model and its importance, and talked about developing the key players. And what I should say actually with the sales cycle, when we looked at the key players and I talked about the working styles, in actual fact, what you'll find out is that there are people, according to their working style, who are very good at developing the case for expenditure. And there are other working styles, maybe more theoretical, who are really good at the research and segmentation. And you'll find out that the more activist people may be good at the implementation. And then you'll find that sort of maybe the more reflectors are good at the monitoring and evaluation. So it really does work. And usually when I do this in the workshop, you get that big aha moment from people when they see. So, some people are really good at brainstorming and getting the case for expenditure. But when it comes to the actual implementation and talking to people and selling, they're not that great. And a lot of that is down to the working style. Some people are more cut out for it than others. So that's one of the ways it all ties together. And now we will move on to, again, what I'm saying about is if you get all of this together, this is what will give you the greatest chance of reaching that goal of your first 100,000. You may have a much bigger goal. It may be millions, whatever your goal is. But getting to that first 100,000 is what it's all about, is to help you do. So now it's marketing. You have to be clear about how you're going to market. And you remember I talked about lead generation, all comes into this. If you're not generating leads for your business, it will die. Not because you've had, a lot of people saying, well, if you do this, I'll buy it from you. Not because people are saying, oh, what you do is great. Oh, you could sell 1 million. No. Even if you have a great first week, you've got to spend a lot of time in your marketing and lead generation. So just a word on that. How do you do that? First of all, find out what people in your industry do. If it's bicycles, find out how people sell bicycles. If you're a fitness coach, how do other people market their fitness coaching? If you're a coffee shop, how do other people get their customers, right? So find out what are the industry norms, what's going on in your industry. Because there's a reason for that, because it obviously usually works. So make sure you know what that is and that you have a way of doing that, because that might be like a no-brainer just to do that. Then go to the course I told you about, our 40 top lead generation techniques. Go through it and always be testing new techniques, new ways of getting new customers, whether it's your SEO, your sales engine optimization, whether it's, door-to-door leafleting, whether it's, I've got here advertising, television advertising, newspaper advertising. There are loads of ways of generating new leads. And so constantly test them. Constantly test new methods of getting customers. It might give you an edge on your competitors as well, rather than all being in the same market. So know the industry norms, test different lead generation techniques, think about advertising, and this can be social media advertising, it can be normal media advertising. Think about it, and again, get some feedback, find out who's used it and what and why and what successes they've had. And also remember that your customers, you have to know when you're defining your customers, what budget they spend out of. So if they are going to buy this bicycle, are they going to use their holiday money? Are they going to use their weekend entertainment money? You have to know what budget they're taking it out from, so you know what you're competing with. So marketing, launchings and events, and these are good because they're your event. You bring people to events, and there's usually some goodwill about it. If they come in, people want to buy. If you have a book launch, people come, they're likely to buy the book. Some people actually charge in the price for a book launch that you actually get a book with it. That's one way of doing it, and things like that. So they're your own events. You're not competing with anybody else. I've got customers in hand. And I talk about this in lead generation. It comes to customer service. If you have a customer, keep hold of them. Stay in touch with them. Find out how they're doing. Find out how the product worked for them. Because, they say a rule of thumb that it's 15 times harder to get a new customer than hold on to an old one and existing one. We don't know if that's true or not. But it's important. Customer service is really a way of getting new customers. If you look after your customers, they will buy from you again, or they will buy something else from you, and they will recommend people to you. So look after your customers. Build in that strategy of staying in touch with your customers. Okay. Not always to call them and try and sell them something. Just by staying in touch and reminding them who you are and reminding them that you sold them this product or service will generate business. And then, of course, social media is a marketing strategy. And for some people, it works more than others. Okay, so I'm not an expert on the social media, whether it's the Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, or the other ones. Anymore? Instagram? Anymore? LinkedIn? Okay, so some of you are aware of what different social media there are. Okay, Google Plus, I've been told. Snapchat, I've been told. Okay, so there you go. So lots of social media, and you have to think about how it works. And I know that they're different. You can't treat each of these social media things the same. You have to really have a strategy for each. And I think the hardest thing is to be constant with that. But that's your marketing. So you have to be constant with it. So there you go. So marketing's a big thing. Don't start your business without being clear about your marketing strategy and, of course, your marketing costs and how much you're going to spend on marketing. All right? And then, finally, I've got startup finance. But I said this is also to do with to do with administration and so on. Make sure you've really brainstormed what the cost will be, the premises and overheads, stock, wages and running costs, marketing and advertising, other costs, contingency. Okay, and this is probably where you've been talking about a business plan. This is more of a business plan, and you have to assume unforeseen circumstances. You have to assume that the money will not come in when you think it will come in. There are all these things you have to assume, and you have to assume that things will take a bit longer than you think they will, or often a lot longer than they think you will. So you have to be aware of that. So now with all of that background, you're clearer now of what it will take and how much money you'll need. So that's why the finance comes at the end. So you'll realize that it's not, it's not a £30,000 startup. It's actually a £50,000 startup, and you take all these things into account. All right. So that's part of the business model. We said that cash flow is one of the reasons why so many businesses fail. So now you have to kind of overestimate and make sure you start with the right amount of cash. I have to reiterate that. Start with the right amount of cash. How you get the cash is another thing. Do you take loans? Do you what we call bootstrapping? Grab everything you've got, friends and family, throw it in. Whatever way you get the money is one thing, but it's make sure you have enough to start with. Otherwise, you want to, you're losing from day one if you don't have the finance to start up. So again, just to reiterate, so understand why so many businesses fail. Read the book, right? If you're trying to get to that 100,000, look at the business model and brainstorm that business model until you're tired. Brainstorm that business model again and again and again and again, so you know everything about the business model, you know, inside out. And again, when you're pitching something to anybody, any type of investor, you really have to know your business model. If you ever watched those sort of Dragon's Den investor programs, you'll see that they really want to know, how does the model work. They want to know you've done your homework. Think about the players, the skills analysis and the working styles analysis in terms of building that team. And of course, to build that team, sometimes it's taking partners, sometimes it's taking investors, sometimes it's employing people. However you can get the team together, make sure you have a team in place, again, before you start. Understand that sales cycle. And again, know your product inside out. We've said know the business model inside out, but know your product inside out and all the benefits of that product and all the kinds of people who should buy that product, right? Be clear about that from day one and what the benefits are and how that product should be spoken about. And make sure that's within your organization. Make sure there are strap lines about your business and your product, that everybody in the business knows how to talk about it. Okay, there's no confusion. And look at your marketing strategies. Don't underestimate that. Right? You should have potential clients. You should be overloaded with potential clients and working your way through them. You understand? You should always have new potential clients to target. Okay? And then you can change the way you do that. And then we said, think about the finance. Now you're in a position to talk about how much do you need to finance your organization, and also, the kind of administration it will take. And don't forget, depending on the size of your organization, you may have to deal with things like, especially in the UK, taxes like PAYE, pay as you earn, if you employ people. Then there's VAT if you reach a certain threshold. I think it's about 85,000. So if you reach 100,000, you'll be in that threshold. You have to deal with the VAT, value added tax. I think other people call it something like consumption tax or sales taxes, and all these things. And you're in the UK, it's a minefield. It's a lot of work, the administration. So make sure you've got the administration support. The UK is not a place that is friendly towards small business. Okay, so, I did say I would. Okay, this is, again, I did say I would talk about or tell you that I would direct you to the Olympic Sprint Business Coaching subscription page. $89 a month is the normal fee, and that gives you, I can't even tell you, if you look at the page, you'll see it. Loads of courses that make it up, all big courses, lead generation and customer service and sales and startup, and there's so many courses that we normally sell separately, but they're all part of the subscription. And I'll just give you that link, and there's a code there for you, so you get that you get that 20% discount. So I think that takes it to about $69. I think it saves about $20. So that's in dollars. The price is in dollars. I just thought it'd be more attractive. So if you fancy it, just take take a month, do what you can when you're ready. Take a month and go through it. Download all the templates and so on and so forth. Specifically go to the startup module, and when you're going through that, and of course you can ask us questions, and you can join the webinars, you can join the free consultations come with that. You can do it over Skype if you're away, or face to face if you're in reaching distance in the UK. London, I get to London all the time, so have a look at it anyway. Look at the page, read through it, think about it, and read the Why Businesses Fail book first of all. Let me just get out of that. Okay, so if you have any questions, we've got about a minute left. So any quick questions? I'm not actually sure. Actually, I'm not quite sure what the next webinar is. But now that you're those of you who signed up, I will send you a link to the replay of this this webinar. I will. I think I mentioned a couple of the links which I'll try and send you, and of course you'll get the updates to the future webinars, and you'll be getting. I'll subscribe you automatically to what we call the DMC update and Iron Gold News. It's our newsletter that we send out every couple of weeks, and that will give you articles and links to other articles online and blog posts, and will tell you about upcoming webinars. Yeah, and you can get in touch with me. Jamal at dmcconsultancy.co.uk. Anyway, you've got the links. You'll see the links when you get the email and you get the newsletter updates. So I'm going to leave it there, and yeah, we're going over time. So some of these questions I'll come back to, and I will get back to you personally. And really, thank you for coming. Any feedback? Send me any feedback. And I said I'll send you the link to the webinar. And yeah, hope to hear from you soon. So take care. Have a good day wherever you are. Ciao.